Welcome to Fight Club 24/7. My name's Johnny Rashman. Right, let's get straight into it. Tyson Fury did an interview yesterday with Geordie, and I'm going to tell you why it was incredibly disrespectful from that bloke, Geordie. Very disrespectful. Now, first of all, I'm seeing a lot of people say he's a proper journalist, Geordie, and he's asking questions that other people won't. Let me tell you something. This guy is not a proper boxing journalist, right? I actually don't think he really understands the sport. This is a bloke who picked Conor McGregor to beat Floyd Mayweather. Now, fair play, he's built up a platform, right? He is good at what he does in that aspect, but he doesn't know his boxing, right? You may think he does, and he may sound like he does, but he doesn't, right? And I've seen a lot of his takes, which are they just stink of someone who's really a casual boxing fan, who's not. And that's fine, right? That's fine. Look, the more fans, the better. But this guy talks as though he knows what he's talking about. Right? And I'm going to explain why that interview was disrespectful. First of all, don't be telling me that Geordie is will ask questions other people won't. He's got balls. Let me tell you something about this bloke. I did a video about him last April. Right? I questioned one of his videos. He did a video about Tommy Fury, very disrespectful. Comparing him to Jake Paul, how Jake Paul would beat him. I mean, it was fantasy. It was laughable, to be quite honest with you. Right? And I put a video out and I questioned him. What did he do? Block me. Right? So don't tell me this is a guy who's not scared to ask questions and has balls, but if someone questions him, he blocks them. Right? Scumbag move. And what he did yesterday with Tyson Fury was a scumbag move. He set him up, right? And I'll explain why. First of all, I have no issue with anyone asking questions, right? I'm all about that. When I have the big names on my platform, which will happen as I get bigger and bigger, right? I will ask certain questions. Believe you me, I'm all about hard questions and getting to the facts of things. If you follow me, you'll know I'm straight down the line. I'll say things that many people won't, right? And I don't have hate for people. I always say I'll criticize someone if I think they need criticizing, and I'll praise them if they need praising, right? I don't do hate. I'm not interested, right? If I've got something to say at that time, I'll say it and I'll give my opinion and I'll back it up with valid arguments, right? It's as simple as that. But when you have the heavyweight champion on the world giving up his time, he's coming on your podcast, there's a certain way to be, right? Be respectful, right? With all due respect to this guy, who the fuck is he? Right, you're talking to the heavyweight champion of the world. So the interview's going on, and the first thing that the bloke asks is, did you watch the KSI fight? Right? So you've got the heavyweight champion of the world who's just who's just on the verge of fighting for an undisputed heavyweight title fight, history in the making, and the first thing you say is, did you watch the KSI fight? Now, who the fuck cares about the KSI fight? Now, look, I understand that they've got a market and I hammered him for his last opponents, right? But fair play to what the guy's doing. He's a successful guy. Seems like a nice guy, right? And I am coming round to the YouTube boxing thing. I just come to the realisation that they're just fighting each other. And look, if there's a market for it, let them crack on with it. Fair play to them, right? It's when they start talking about world champions and competing with pro boxers. That's what makes a mockery of it, and that's what I'll call out, right? But why are you asking the heavyweight champion in the world about KSI? Do you think Tyson Fury gives a fuck about him? Really? Right? He's in training camp. Boxers have this mentality where when they're in training camp, that's all they focus on, you know? You don't want to be asked about KSI. Second question, he was going on about Deontay Wilder and how Wilder was crying in his last fight against Laney's and he was very disrespectful to Fury. Okay, You asked that, fine. Okay. Then number 3, Conor Benn. He says, what do you think about Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn, what Eddie Hearn said, and his failed test and all this? So automatically, 3 questions, you're doing it for clout, aren't you? Right? You're doing it to try and get a reaction, to try and get clicks and views. Now look, right, I might be contradicting myself because when people say to me, you're doing it for clout, I go, well, it's kind of the point on YouTube or when you have a media outlet. Right? We all do it, no matter how big or small you are. Everyone puts content out for the sole purpose of people engaging with it. So it has to be engaging content, right? But you can still have engaging content without being a dick, right? Those 3 questions, do you understand what I mean? If you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you're going on a YouTuber's channel and you're giving up your time, and he's asking you 3 things about Conor Benn, KSI, Deontay Wilder. It's like, is this guy a fucking joke? Like, is he just wasting my time here? So Fury's getting annoyed by this. A lot of people are getting confused. They're thinking I'm going mad with the questions he asked. No, it's not about that. Ask the questions, but ask them in a certain way, right? and you can still get that response, you'll still get the views. But when you're starting off with KSI questions, Wilder, Conor Benn, you're going on you're starting off badly, and he knows that. True Geordie, he fucking knows that, right? He deliberately set Tyson Fury up to get a reaction. That's what he fucking did. I don't care what anyone says, right? It's glaringly obvious. That's what he was doing. He starts talking about Derek Chisora and the deadlines with AJ, and he actually says, well, if Usyk says he was going to be ready in 6 months, why not wait for the 6 months? Why take a Chisora fight? And this is what I mean by how he doesn't understand boxing, right? You've got to look at it like this. No one wants to really see the Chisora fight. We get it. We understand it. It's not great. It's better than Shah. It's not great, right? No one's screaming for it. But you have to put context. This is boxing. This is not football. This is not tennis where they play every week. This is boxing where one split second can end your career, can end your life, and you won't make money again, right? So you've got to be smart and economical, right? This fight with Chisora is a warm-up fight before an undisputed fight. That's it. It's a voluntary defense, right? No fighter in history at this point of their career is going to have a 50-50 fight when they've got the lure of millions and millions of pounds of an undisputed history-making fight against Usyk in the Middle East, right? You've got to be insane to risk that, right? So he's not going to fight Jojo. He's not going to fight Hrgovic. He's not going to have a 50-50 fight, right, where people are questioning if he's going to win or not. It's just not going to happen. That's just the way boxing is, right? He's got this fight round the corner. He fights Usyk, beats him. No one will even remember this, right? So you've got to put context to it. That's why he didn't wait 6 months, because he wants a warm-up fight. Boxers are a creature of habit, right? They need to have routine. And you can see with Tyson, when he's not got routine, he goes off the rails, right? He starts talking and contradicting himself. You can see it in his face, right? You can. So he needs structure. He is a boxer. He might be famous, but he's a boxer. When you don't hang around with fighters, or you're not around them, then it's easy to comment. It's easy to say things, right? I've been around many fighters. I see what they go through, right? And they all need structure, because if they don't have that structure, training, going to the gym, some of them can go off the rails, right? And Tyson does have that personality. So he needs a fight to give him some structure, right? To get the cobwebs off. He's not fought since last April, right? So he needs a fight. Derek Chisora was 14 in the WBC. When you look at the list of fighters, he can't fight Wilder. He's not going to fight Ruiz. They're fighting next. He's not AJ, obviously. I knew that fight was never going to happen. Joe Parker's not going to fight Luis Ortiz in September. Martin Piccoli, no one's going to say they want to see that fight. So when you're looking at the list, and as I say, put context to it, Chisora is there. It's a ready-made story. It's 2 UK fighters, right? And it's selling tickets, right? As I said, I'm not saying I agree with the fight, but when you put context to it, it's a fight before undisputed. It's okay. It's not that bad. And the way he was talking about Derek Chisora, okay, bringing up his losses and all that, fair point. He was saying the way Parker battered him. First fight was a split decision, right? Second fight, okay, he did look a bit unsteady, Chisora, but it's the way he battered him. Like, it's just the terminology. And Tyson is a fighter, right? You've got to understand, True Geordie isn't talking to Jake Paul or KSI. He's talking to a real fighter, right? The heavyweight champion of the world. And he's talking to him just so disrespectful. You know, and even Tyson said, well, don't talk about Chisora like that. This is a guy who fights anyone. This is a real fighter. I can understand the question. I can, right? But ask it in a fucking certain way. Then he starts going on about resumes, and he says, Tyson, you're one of my favourite fighters, but if you look at the greats like Ali and Lennox Lewis, they fought the best of their era. You've not at your point, you need to prove you're the greatest. And it's like, you're telling the heavyweight champion of the world, undefeated, who's won every bout in boxing, who's just come off a trilogy with the most ferocious puncher that's ever been, right? Fight of the decade, the last fight. Let me tell you, I watched that last fight again. It was unbelievably captivating. The guy went to war, mate. It was unbelievable. The personalities, the ring walks, the fight, everything. It was captivating. Go and watch that last Wilder Fury fight again. It was unbelievable. The drama in it. And then you've got this prick saying, well, you need to prove you're the best. He's just had a trilogy with Deontay Wilder, right? Who's known to be one of the most ferocious punchers, right? He beat Vladimir Klitschko in his own backyard, right? His own backyard. He's been undefeated for 11 years. Those are history-making fights, and you've got this guy saying you need to prove you're the greatest, right? I'm not being funny. Beating Anthony Joshua next, does that prove that he's the greatest? And look, I'm a big AJ fan, but that fight wasn't right. I said it all along, right, that AJ's team didn't want that fight next. It's very, very simple to see. They put a load of money into him, right? He's just got new trainers. He's just coming off 2 defeats. Well, you're not going to put him in with Tyson Fury next. Not unless you're looking to cash out and not carry on in the career, right? If it's the last fight, it wasn't going to happen, right? So really, you're telling me that helps his legacy, right? Okay, yes, Chisora doesn't, but as I say, it's a voluntary defence, right? He's going after Usyk, right? And that's disrespectful. Any fighter would say like that. Ask the question. You can say, look, fans are saying, are looking at your resume and they're saying you do need a fighter like Usyk. You do need those legacy fights. You know, Joe Joyce, people want to see that fight. That will add to your legacy. You know, you can say it in that sort of way. The way he was saying it was smart ass remarks, right? And okay, Tyson was being a bit cold, but there was a bit of a backstory with this. This True Geordie has been disrespectful to Tyson, his dad, and Tommy Fury. He has been, right? Because he licks those YouTubers' arse, right? I mean, when he talks about boxing, I can't listen to it. I don't listen to it, to be honest with you. He really doesn't understand the sport. Believe me, right? Don't be blinkered by the following and all that, right? He doesn't understand the sport. As I said, he picked Conor McGregor to beat Floyd Mayweather. So don't discuss him with me about boxing. If you want to know about boxing, subscribe to this channel, right? If you want to learn about boxing. And then he goes on to say, Chisora wouldn't beat you if he had a hammer in his hand. And the last fight was so boring, everyone was booing. Okay, fine, it was. The last fight, I remember watching it. I guarantee this True Geordie wouldn't have been watching it. I think he's literally started watching boxing in the last few years. He just researched his stuff. Believe me, I guarantee he never fucking watched it, right? The first Chisora fight was a back and forth barnstormer. People forget that. They keep saying 2 fights were just unbelievably bad. They weren't. The second one was horrific. It was so boring, right? It was horrific, right? The first one was a good barnstormer, but the way he's saying about Chisora going in, he needs a hammer and to beat him and all that. It's heavyweight boxing. It takes one punch. And look, we all said it about Wilder. None of us wanted to see that third fight. We didn't. No one wanted to see it. Believe you me, and I slated it as well. No one wanted it. Ended up being the best fight, possibly that's ever been in the heavyweight division. It was that captivating and that exciting, right? Granted, I'm not saying Chisora is Wilder. Let me tell you what this fight offers. And it offers the chance of one of the biggest heavyweight moments in history, right? A proper Cinderella moment. If Chisora somehow lands a punch from the gods and takes Tyson Fury out, we'll be talking about it forever. Granted, unlikely. Believe me, very unlikely. But it's heavyweight boxing, right? He isn't going in against a 50-0 journeyman. It takes one right hand. You never know, Fury could have an off night, right? And it's just the disrespect, right? Anyone can ask questions. It's very easy to ask questions. And anyone can do things for clout, right? Me, right? If Tyson Fury was being cold with me, I'd have the balls to say, it seems like you're being a bit cold. Is it something I've said? Have you got something to say to me? I'd call him out on it. Not being a little scumbag and making little remarks and digging things out. Go and question him. If you've got something to say, go and question him. He didn't have the balls to do that, right? Some of the questions I agree with, fine, but it's the way he said it. No fighter would put up with that, right? Could you imagine Cristiano Ronaldo doing an interview and someone saying, well, you're not greater than Messi. You need to prove it. You keep saying you're the greatest of the era, but you need to prove it. You need to do this, this, and this, or that wasn't good. That wasn't good. It's like, do you understand what I mean, right? This is Tyson Fury. He doesn't need clout from that fucking bloke. The bloke needs Tyson Fury, right? And he got what he wanted. And for me, it was a setup from the beginning. It was, right? It's glaringly obvious. Look at the questions. Did you watch KSI talking about Wilder, Conor Ben? He just wanted clickbait fucking remarks, right? That's what it was. That wasn't a real interview. Don't tell me that was a real interview when you've got a guy who doesn't understand boxing just asking anything for clout, right? Okay, later on, Chisora points and all that. He has got a point, right? But when you're saying stuff like you're charging the British public for pay-per-view money and all that, well, it's not really Fury, is it? It's his promoter, right? And let's get it right, the tickets are selling. If it was a complete bomb, fine, but tickets are selling, people were going to watch it, right? If you put context to it, it's not that bad. He has to fight a top 15 fighter, he is doing, right? And it's a fight before undisputed. If he doesn't fight Usyk Nets and he has soft touches, no problem, right? I will hammer him, right? And I'll say it. But that's not the case, is it? Right? Frank Warren's mapped it out. He wants Usyk and Joyce next. This is a guy who has fought the best in his era in Klitschko and Wilder. Right? Undefeated for 11 years, Klitschko. Wilder undefeated. Knocked everyone out before he fought Fury. Right? Literally. Right? So, and went to his home backyard. And you're questioning his resume? Really? No, I'm sorry. Very disrespectful. And he knew what he was doing, that bloke, right? Fury shouldn't have even fucking wasted his time with him. And that's my opinion on it. With me, people say I don't like True Geordie. I don't really give a fuck about him. I did a few videos last year. I pull it on him. I said, I'll box you. I'll fight you. You throw a punch like an elephant. Right? Literally can't throw a jab. Right? He's that fucking bad. And then he's questioning the heavyweight champion of the world's resume. Right? That's the issue I have. It's the way he said it. Right? It's the way he said it. Ask questions, right? But ask them without being a dick, right? And that's the point I'm making. Let me know what you think. Do you think it was a good interview? Do you think I'm overreacting? Do you think it was a bit disrespectful? Like, comment, subscribe, let me know.